So we just close our eyes as we always do. Can we actually change someone's mind? And of course, the title of the talk is How to Change Someone's Mind, how to actually change someone's mind, which implies, of course, that we can. In fact, when you look at what the mind is, all it is that collection of synapses, of patterns in our brain, of past history, past learning, past experiences. And that is the filter through which both we hear everything and the other person hears everything. And so every moment of every day, our own minds are changing. Every new input, our nervous system is collecting new data. And the two things that typically happen of either habituation, where we get used to a stimulus and we barely even notice it anymore, or sensitization. But in truth, every single moment, every single little bit of light that's coming into our eyes, everything we hear, every television program we watch, every person who we speak to, every experience, even if there's no persons involved, registers itself on the level of those synapses. That is the mind-body connection, which we're going to talk about more today, that in order for us to think a thought, essentially it is the transmission of an electrical impulse in our nervous system. Now, the far majority of those impulses go unnoticed, but many of them get stored down in our hippocampus. And the largest part of those memories, those impressions, are unconscious. Probably 99.99% of them. Which is to say, we're not even aware what's going on in our own selves. So how can we ever imagine that we can know what's right or wrong for another person? And yet we are changing their mind, and our mind is being changed every single second with every input we receive on some subtle level of the nervous system, new connections being formed, other ones basically vanishing away. There's neurotransmitters that facilitate, and there's neurotransmitters that basically inhibit. In other words, make us forget, create that habituation. And so this is every single moment. As I speak, the sound waves are coming through your ears, going to the temporal portions of your cerebral cortex, and from there being processed even further. Millions of neurons and synapses being activated. So whether you like it or not, you are changing other people's minds just by standing in front of them without saying a word. That's the good news and the bad news. You are changing their minds with every word you speak. You are changing their minds in every environment in which you interact with them. If you interact with someone in a noisy restaurant, you're creating different synapses inside of them than if you interact with them on a golf course or on a sailboat or in a meditation class. Another example, if you interact with them on opposite sides of a political rally, Democrats here, Republicans there, Arabs there, Jews there, men here, women there. If there's any sort of confrontational situation, just that mere interaction. You may not change their minds in the way you think you are, in the way you want to, but something is shifting inside of all of us. So this becomes the question. How do you proactively change their mind in a specific direction? What gives you the right to do that? How dare we try to change somebody else? Isn't it equally valid that we allow them to change ours, our minds? So again, this is the little caveat I was speaking about earlier. In fact, with the 5 phases of speaking your truth, we are not trying to change anyone else's mind. It was a mistake, an oversight I made in writing that title for the talk. In fact, what we want to do, what we can do very, very effectively, rather than change their mind, is change their heart. And then, without us doing hardly a thing more, we change their heart and they change on their own. They do it themselves. Not only do they do it themselves, number one, most of the time they don't even know they did it. And yet, if you're coming from that higher place, there's this moment of grace and they're happy that you did whatever you did. And you're happy you did whatever you did. Because in truth, when you're trying to change someone's heart, you are essentially trying to get them aligned on that higher level with you. There's a difference between getting agreement and creating harmony. Republicans and Democrats are never going to be in agreement over all the issues. No 2 human beings of the 7.5 billion human beings on the planet can ever see things exactly the way any other human being can see them, as you'll see tonight. Our nervous systems are just too complex, so infinitely complex it's beyond the imagination. The number of differences between anybody else and you is completely, totally, 100, 1,000, quadrillion% different. They're different from you. Impossible to know how to get them to align with you. However, getting somebody to change their heart, coming from that higher place, as long as you have cleaned whatever you need to clean, surrendered whatever you need to surrender, that's a worthy endeavor every day. Because first off, as we've said many times before, 90, 95, maybe 99% of the time, you just need to clear, to surrender whatever is inside of you, whatever triggers, whatever emotions. And when you do that, when you look at it and you realize, oh, this is a judgment I'm having, rather than being an acceptance. This is a fear or a concern I'm having, rather than being in trust. This is an expectation I'm having, wanting something in the future, being attached to it, rather than just being in the present moment, the fullness of the present moment. So a good 90, 95%, 99%, whatever the number is of that nature. But every once in a while, we do need to start to enact these beautiful 5 phases. But if our intention is to change their mind, the mind is just too unfathomable. It's too unknowable for us to know what they're thinking, and for them to know what they're thinking, and for us to know what we're thinking. But the heart is much simpler, much clearer. It can be summed up in 2 words. We want to move to a greater state of unity and harmony. And for that, the 5 phases are absolutely, completely, 100% beautiful, subtle, silent oftentimes, tools for accomplishing that. We hold the space, and they pick up on our facial expressions, on our body language. They hear what we're saying, what our heart is saying, even before we ever say a word, and oftentimes shift just from that. We speak their truth. 0 resistance when we speak their truth. We compliment them, give them gratitude, find a point of agreement. Say, I do the same things. 0 resistance. The moment we do that, we are in harmony with them, and they tend to mirror that back, which is phase 3, where they speak our truth. If we need a little bit more stimulus to move them in that direction, then we can start asking questions of grace, permission questions, to get them to open up to us. Can I share with you what I'm thinking? Exploratory questions to explore, first and foremost, what they're thinking. And once we do that, then phase 5, hitting the nail on the head. The far majority of times is not even necessary any longer. They've come into alignment without us doing a thing. But in the few cases where we do need to hit the nail on the head, because we've essentially illuminated the way, already brought so much light to the situation, it's just a tiny little movement for them to hear what we say without the resistance and the reactivity that otherwise would be there. Instead, we create receptivity, openness. Few people don't respond when we're moving into that realm of the heart, changing their heart, where there may be some hardness there. And once we do that, then they can change their own minds, and often do. Just breathe that in, nice slow breath. Again, our breath is what connects us to that life force, that sameness, that oneness, that soul, that spirit, that eternalness. Just stay in that space for a few moments longer. When you're ready, just slowly open your eyes, just taking your time though.